Like, we're losing these skills, the ability to, because a lot of it is because if you are landless, you're not going to get to be in nature, yeah? And people talk a lot about reparations, and the corporate white stream media will always emphasize compensation, you know, as the main thing that we should be going for. But let's just compare ourselves to Jewish people. Jewish people established a nation state called Israel, yeah, which the Allied forces, the European Allied forces, were forced to support as part of the agreements after the Second World War. And that state of Israel today is a very powerful, militarized superstate that impacts politics worldwide. The Israel-Palestine situation impacts politics worldwide. The point I'm making is that Jewish people didn't just assert compensation. Don't get me wrong, they've continued. The Jewish Claims Conference has been going for like 70 years. And every year there's like new compensation, a new group of people who were not originally compensated, survivors, their children. But their struggle emphasized restitution. Yeah, restitution first, which was, the argument was, we have been dispossessed of a nation state, of our homeland, historic Israel, based on a 2,000-year-old principle. And therefore, in order to stop being persecuted because we are diasporas, we need to establish a nation state, which when they were looking at where would they create Israel, first of all, they were looking at Uganda, right? So that nation state, a physical landmass that could concentrate the efforts of Jewish people worldwide, was key. And also being somewhere that descendants of Jewish people, diaspora Jewish people, could also seek to gain protection from, yeah? And that's a very powerful example. It's not necessarily for me a good example of reparations because it involved dispossessing another group that today would be called Palestinians, who are largely Arab. But then we have to go back to who originally occupied that land, and then we're still going to come back to us. Yeah, we're still going to come back to us. Yeah, because prior to the creation of the Suez Canal, that was, Israel is northeastern Africa. Again, narrative repairs. Whose narrative are we following and is actually dictating the world? And if we are to repair this harm that is now impacting our very life support system, the lungs of Mother Earth, then we have to go back. We have to do what the Akan people refer to as Sankofa. Yeah, we have to look back in order to move forward. You know, represented by the bird, that part of its body is going one way, the head's going that way. So we look back and we take the best from our past in order to guide us into our future. So reparations in an international law, there are 5 main principles. The first one is stopping the harm. You've got to end the current systems of oppression. So part of the climate crisis is about dispossession, is about landlessness, it is about extractivism, the toxic kind of development models, that impact our communities. Not only in the global south, in Africa and the Caribbean and the rest of the global south, but also in the communities that we live here in diaspora sites that are often very polluted, yeah? A lot of industrial plants, a lot of kind of environmental pollution happens in areas where our people live. So we've got to end that. That's stopping the harm. That's the first stage to a reparations process. Then you look at restitution, which is really to put a people or a group back in a position they would have been but for what's happened to them. And we haven't got the time to go into all the violations, all the crimes that we have suffered in every phase: chattel enslavement, colonialism, and now neo-colonialism. Literally hundreds of crimes, yeah? And so the restitution also involves returning people to land. So the notion of what Rastafari has been championing as repatriation.